What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Primetime Carolina, the best damn Panthers podcast there is out there. We're back again. We were off last week because of the holiday, but I think we've got a lot to talk about. So let's not waste any time. Dave, what's going on with you, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm excited. I got my Charlotte Bobcats on, so can't nobody tell me nothing. Uh, did you have a good week off?
I did. I did have a good weekend off. Obviously, for some of you that don't know, on the side, I do music. Um, I just came out with my debut album, 97. My stage name is Tanner Jordan. You can find me anywhere on any kind of platform. I just came out with my debut album. I've got really, really good reviews so far. It's 11 tracks long. I've got some good stuff coming out. And so the album's out now if you want to check it out anywhere. We'll probably put links in the description for you if you want to check it out. But you can go on any kind of social media, type in my name, Tanner Jordan, or go on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music, whatever you want to do. You can find me and just get up with me and tell me what you guys think. So
Yeah, cool deal. And I can tell you all from experience, it's good stuff. So you check it out, you're gonna like it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
But yeah, did that this weekend. Then the Saturday is my birthday, and I am
Oh, that's
still.
right. Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I'm trying to recover from a hangover still. Full 24 hours later, I'm still trying to pull it together. But um,
Well, got to get those drinking days in while you can,
got to get them in when you can.
while you're still
Um,
young, because pretty soon those hangovers become real critical.
real critical.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, appreciate all that good stuff. But yeah, if you want to check out the music, go find me. You can find me anywhere. But without further ado, let's get into what we really want to talk about here today. The Panthers, we've been talking about the past couple episodes. What are they going to do at quarterback? What's going to be the decision they make? We have our answer. His name is Sam Darnold. Um, the Jets traded Sam Darnold to us. We did give them a sixth-round pick this year, but we did give up a second round and a fourth round pick for 2022. There's a lot of mixed emotions, a lot of mixed feelings. Some people happy, some people pissed. Dave, your thoughts on the Sam Darnold trade and him coming to Carolina?
All right. Well, man, there's a lot to unpack with this one. So it just depends on where you want to start. First off, I think, it's a low risk, high reward type of trade.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people, including myself, weren't too thrilled about seeing that second round pick in there. Other than that, I don't think we gave up too much. Really, even with that, I don't think we gave up too much. Mainly because I think the Panthers plan on getting those picks back somehow or another.
Mm-hmm.
I think they look at that 6th-round pick and they say, well, we could probably get at least that for Teddy Bridgewater once we finally unload him this offseason. Then I think they look at the picks next year, and assuming they have the type of season they want to have this year, they'll probably be looking to move back anyway and get some of those picks back. So overall, I like the trade. But like I said, there's a lot to get into with this conversation. So what about you? What do you think?
It's funny because when we first started this, the first question you asked me on the first episode was, do you want Sam Darnold? I said no. Okay, and then the next episode we did, the 49ers trade happened, so then we're like, okay, well, this completely changes everything. And then I kind of changed my tone, my view on it. Now that I've had some time to digest it, I've had some time to think about it, I do like this trade for numerous reasons, and here's why. This kid is 23 years old. I don't know when he turns 24, probably relatively soon, but he's 23 years old, all right? He was on the absolute worst team in the NFL with the absolute worst coaching in the NFL and arguably the worst ownership in the NFL. I mean, just bottom tier, garbage bin, terrible, everything that he was surrounded by. The Jets were just an absolute dumpster fire. Sorry to all the Jets fans out there that are listening to this show for some reason, but I mean, he just was in a terrible situation and had no help, had no O line. His his best option was Jamison Crowder, he's handing the ball off to a 52-year-old running back, Frank Gore, in the backfield. I mean, the guy had nothing. And
Right.
I think automatically going to the situation, he cannot be any worse. He's got the best running back in the league. He's got 2 fringe number 1 receivers, all better than he's ever had. And then at the same time, we're going to have an upgraded O-line. I think we'll get into some of that later on, but he's definitely going to have a better line than what he had. He's got all the pieces and all the talent. He's got Joe Brady, a guy who was known for a lot of people, he wasn't all the hype last year. I think a lot of people thought, but it's his first year, cut him some slack. He's going to bring it around this year. It's going to get his quarterback that he wants. He's going to open that playbook up, and he's got a coach that believes in him and that wants him there. So I think all those things considered, he's going to do a much better job than people are anticipating.
Yeah, and just right off of what you said, talking about his age, I mean, people, I don't know what it is about sports in the NFL in particular, but they expect guys to be perfect when they're still so young. I mean, 23 is so young.
Yeah,
You can't walk into any job, in day-to-day life and expect the 23-year-old to be the one who's got it all together and is perfect all the time. But for
exactly.
whatever reason, when you're talking about one of the hardest jobs in the world, an NFL quarterback, everyone expects him to just get it at 23 years old. At 23 years old, I was still stumbling out of bars on a nightly basis, but yet you expect this guy to be perfect at doing one of the hardest jobs in the world. I mean, come on, give the guy a break. Your brain's not even developed until you're 25, right? Isn't that what they say?
Around that, yeah.
So, I mean, give the guy a chance. I don't know.
I agree 100%. I think a lot of people were just, oh, wait, okay, the Jets suck. Sam Darnold sucks. Oh, we lost. That's just how
Yeah.
they thought about it. Very, very black and white. But once you start to unpack this, there's a lot to it. And I think, looking at, I've watched some film. I've watched some of his stuff. I think he's got a cannon, which is good because it's what we lacked last year. And that's going to open up a lot of stuff for Robbie Anderson, who he has a relationship with because that's who he played with. So that's good there. And we've got an offensive coordinator that can, wants to open up the book. We can probably do a lot of things that we couldn't do last year that we're going to be able to do this year. He's pretty accurate. I think a lot of the mistakes he's made are, just some not rookie mistakes, but just a younger quarterback. But at the same time, the thing that gets me the most is people will say, watch this. He makes these terrible decisions. He's doing this. He's doing that. I'm like, do you understand what it's like to be running for your life the whole time and just trying to force the ball? What does the guy have to lose by throwing the ball up and trying to make a play when he's over here getting destroyed on the ground?
Yep.
You haven't won a game all year. I mean, just the guy, a lot of it is not his fault. And I think with him being in this situation, he's going to be a lot better.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of a point I wanted to get to is, a lot of people don't realize the psychological disadvantage you're at as a quarterback when you're getting pounded constantly. And his blocking was horrible. His receivers didn't get open. It goes to that Patriots game where he says, I'm seeing ghosts. Well, that's what happens when you're standing out there by yourself the whole game, getting pounded by an NFL defense. You start seeing ghosts. So,
Exactly.
And I don't want to make a bunch of excuses for the guy because he has made his mistakes. But it's like you said, what did he have to lose throwing the ball up for no reason in all those situations? And I was looking at it, this guy, he's barely older than Justin Fields. He's the same age as Mac Jones. I mean, he's basically a rookie in this class with a couple years of NFL experience. So I get why people are down on it because he's had a rough time in the NFL and he's had some ugly plays, but he's also made his share of plays too. He's had some jaw-dropping plays that he's made in a horrible situation. So, with our coaching staff, I have faith in them that they can do something with him. And if not, like we said, low risk, high reward. If it doesn't work out, we're right back where we started. At the very least, we know he's going to be better than Teddy Bridgewater because you can't be worse than that. So, I get why people aren't excited about it, but there's reason to be optimistic about it.
I agree 100%. I think what gets a lot of people, and I understand this completely, is that like, oh well, we want to start fresh. We want the new rookie in the first round, the high pick. Like he's like our quarterback. He was no one else's quarterback. Like it's all like it sounds better, you know, thinking, oh, we just picked a new rookie quarterback in the first round. He's going to play for us under our staff. He's never had anything wrong with him. He's brand new and he's fresh. Versus taking a guy who's been here for a couple of years, maybe hasn't put up the best stats, the best statistics, and then people just automatically have this vision in their head that this guy can't be good. He's already damaged goods, and I completely disagree. So I think that might be part of it. People just they want to start fresh with a new quarterback that's been drafted. I get that, but a lot of times you're not going to be able to get in that situation. That kind of brings me to my next point here is, okay, we've got Darnold. Was there something you thought the Panthers saw at number 8 where maybe if a quarterback dropped, they didn't like what they saw? Or do you think they just kind of, you said, you know what, I think this is as good as it's going to get. We're not going to trade up. We don't think anyone's going to fall. Let's do what we think is going to be the best move. What do you think they were thinking in that situation?
Well, here's what I think. I think if, Justin Fields or maybe Trey Lance are there at 8, I'm would not be shocked if they still drafted a quarterback. And in a lot of ways, I would like to see it because, that's kind of what we all wanted all along was Justin Fields to land in our laps. With
Correct.
that being said, I'm starting to get the vibe that that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Falcons are a lot more in play for a quarterback than they've been letting on.
Mm-hmm.
I think Atlanta, I just have a gut feeling that they're more interested in one of those guys than Mac Jones. They just want people to think they want Mac Jones. I could be wrong, but I don't know. But, it's like all these are scenarios that could be true, so you have to at least talk about them. So the Panthers are talking about them.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I agree. The last thing you want to do is get in a spot where you haven't done anything. Let's say they don't even trade for Sam Darnold. They're just sitting at 8, and then all the guys get scooped up that they want, and then all of a sudden you're coming back with
Right.
another year of what you already have.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I see what they're saying, and I totally get that. I was talking to one of my friends this week about that. I was like, what if the Panthers, they stay at 8, which I think they will, and then one of the quarterbacks they like a Trey Lance or Justin Fields or somebody falls that far? Like, would you be willing to take another quarterback? And my response was yes. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not, but it's also a scenario that's entirely possible. And then, people are going to be calling us at 8 to try to jump up and get a quarterback, knowing that we traded for one. So
Mm-hmm.
they could be in the mindset to trade back as well. But I think that if there is a quarterback at 8, I don't think they will pull the trigger. But I think it is something to keep your eye on. It's a possibility.
Well, I think also this move, along with signing AJ Boye the other night,
Mm-hmm.
these two moves give them the ultimate flexibility in the draft. Okay,
Yep.
before there was all this pressure, and we talked about it. The Panthers have to trade up. The Panthers have to trade up. The Panthers have to trade up. Well, now that pressure's kind of gone.
Yep.
They can stay at 8. If a quarterback they want's not there, well, they have Sam Darnold. They have somebody who can play quarterback this year. It's not a huge deal. If there's
Mm-hmm.
not a corner, it's not a huge deal. They just signed a corner. If they want to trade back, they could probably get a corner and offensive lineman, or however they want to do it. I mean, there's so much flexibility now. Before it was like we have to take a quarterback. Now it's
Yep.
like we could go about 5 different ways with our first pick.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's likely, but there's a chance. Kyle Pitts could fall in your lap there at 8. Get yourself a big time playmaker. Kyle Pitts. That's right. I said his name right,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yep.
I don't know. My brain went blank for a second. But I mean, what are you hoping for at 8, by the way?
If we think what's going to happen, so we're not going to draft a quarterback at 8. There's a couple guys that get taken, maybe like someone maybe falls just a little bit. I want to make the ultimate statement to the guy that you just traded for, say that we're going to be behind you and we are going to make sure things work for you, we better draft a left tackle with number 8. That is my prediction. That's what I want. I don't think the guy from Oregon will be there, Sewell. I don't think he'll be there. I think he's too good to fall to 8. But there's a bunch of other top left tier left tackles that are in the draft. And I know it's not the most sexy thing to say because it's kind of boring drafting a no lineman. But if you look around the league, the teams that make it the furthest and they have the best built teams, they start up front. They've got to have a good line. So, and like we were saying, let's say this doesn't even work out. Boom, we've got a starting left tackle for the next 10 years for the next guy who comes in there. So I love Kyle Pitts. There's even other receivers that are there that are good. There are other corners that are good, and we can go either way. But I think the ultimate statement would just be we're going to take one of the top left tackles, stay where we're at, and solidify that O-line.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think that's, Justin Fields or Kyle Pitts are the only two things I would probably take before, and that's just being greedy. But I totally agree with you as far as taking whichever one of those tackles is there.
Correct.
I'm all about it.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go because the Kyle Pitts thing. I mean, he would be a phenomenal player, and that would just add even more weapons. But you can have all the weapons you want. If he's still running for his life, it's not going to matter. So I think they need to do the smart and the safe thing. If there's one of those top left tackles there, pick one. Don't trade back unless you get an amazing deal. But stay where you're at and then get one of those left tackles. I think that's the best thing that they can do. And I think that's what they will end up doing.
How much do you think the San Francisco trade put the pressure on the Panthers to go find a new quarterback? Do you think they saw that pick? And so San Francisco traded 3 1s and 1/3 for the number 3 pick. Do you think the Panthers saw that trade and said, wow, the number 2 pick would cost even more than that? We better go make sure we have a quarterback.
I do a little bit. I don't know where I read this, and I could be wrong. I can't quote who it was from. I'm sorry. I just read it somewhere that the Panthers were in talks with the Dolphins. They were just talking, hey, like, what's your price for this pick, number 3 pick? And the GM, by the way, how do you pronounce his last name? I want to make sure.
For the Dolphins?
No, for the Panthers. Fitterer. Fitterer. Okay.
Yeah.
So Fitterer had a conversation and apparently didn't like the price, way too high for his taste. So I think once they got a whiff of that, they knew that they weren't going to trade up to that spot, much less go to the second pick. So I think they kind of had their hand, they kind of, had their pulse on what was going on and what it was going to be to get that far up. I just don't know if they think anyone was going to do it. And then once they saw San Francisco finally pull the trigger, they were like, okay, we're going to go plan B because this is I think they kind of thought that was going to happen. So I think that's why they went with what they ended up doing.
You know what I thought about, Tanner? How funny would it be if it all worked out with Sam Darnold for the Panthers and then Zach Wilson was a bust?
That would be insane. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this kid, Zach Wilson, I think he's going to be a great player, but he could just turn into Sam Darnold Jr. with the Jets.
And that's the problem. Is he's walking into the same – I mean, I know they have a new coaching staff, and I think this new coaching staff does, seem to be a little more with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's the same personnel. He's walking into that same horrible offensive line after he was playing at BYU, who was dominating everybody. Yep. His roughest game was probably against Coastal Carolina, the only half-decent team on their schedule.
Correct.
So, I mean, and what's interesting also is a lot of the things that people point to about Sam Darnold, as far as leadership and character and some of those things, those were like the only question marks for Zach Wilson. It was like his leadership. I don't think there's any character issues there, but there have been people who have questioned his leadership.
Correct.
Whereas Sam Darnold sat there and took it on the chin for 3 years now in a row?
Yeah.
I guess 3 years in a row. Sat there and took it on the chin while no one was getting open, no one was blocking. And like you said, if you go back and watch some of that film, it is amazing how poorly they protected him.
Yeah, it's terrible. It reminds me of what we went through with Cam Newton.
That's what's funny to me is it's all the same people who are crapping all over Darnold, who you would think would have sympathy for a quarterback who has been put in a horrible situation and set up to fail. It's like, dude, Panthers fans of anybody of anybody should know what it's like to watch a quarterback struggle because he has no help. It's like
Exactly.
we should, if anything, we should be sorry for this guy.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. I just, in terms of what I think he's gonna do, it's tough to say yet, but I think he's gonna do well. I mean, I look at what we have around him, and let's say we go into this draft, we draft a couple linemen, maybe a receiver. I think this is going to be a heavy offense draft, maybe in the beginning rounds at least. They do what they need to do to get the things for the guy to help him out. He's already in a way better spot than he already was. He can't be any worse. He's only going to get better. And he's got a chip on his shoulder as well, because they were saying, hey, we think that we need to start over and move on from you and get someone to replace you because you're not good.
Yeah, it's very
Well,
interesting.
let me tell you what. Exactly. Let me go to this other team. They're going to give me better coaching, better options. I got something to prove, and I think he's going to do. I think he's going to do really well. Do I think he's going to be an all-star? No, but I think he could be a very, very good player. I think he at potential he could be like a Pro Bowl type quarterback, and that's all. That's what you need right there.
Yeah, and what I was thinking about today. Who was a throwaway quarterback who couldn't even get on the field?
Who?
Everybody's favorite Panther, Jake Delhomme. He needed a second chance at a new home, and look how it worked out for him. Now everybody in Charlotte loves him. So,
Exactly.
obviously I'm not comparing their situations, but it was just, I kind of thought about that earlier, how, sometimes just, a new home can work wonders for you.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of these, I guess experts talking about it, and I'm very, very careful about who in the mainstream media's opinions I listen to, because a lot of them just say stupid stuff. But there are a couple guys who I do trust their opinions at least most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And two of those guys were Rich Eisen and Mike Greenberg, who are both big Jets fans.
Yes.
And they both said that Sam Darnold was put in a horrible situation. He was set up to fail, and it's not his fault. They wish him the best moving forward. And B, they both thought the Jets should trade that number 2 pick so they could build a team around Sam Darnold. So I thought that was interesting.
I that is interesting. I like Rich Eisen a lot. I like Greenberg too. But yeah, that's because those are two guys that they're diehards of that team. They're sitting here saying it on national TV, and I agree. And I thought for the longest time in the beginning that the Jets were going to stick with Darnold. I thought, they might give it another year. Let's put something around this guy, and that's what was getting me hyped, thinking that we could trade up.
Right, same.
So when obviously they're not doing that, but like I said, if they pick Zach Wilson, he could be a great quarterback. He could be better than Darnold. He might be, but it depends on what they do at picks 2, 3, and 4. That's going to reinforce that. They've got to build around that guy.
Yeah.
They can't do the exact thing that they did with Darnold. Now, what's good for us is that we've got the pieces pretty much in place. Not saying we have them all in there, but we've got more than they do. And you're going to come with a guy who he's going to be pissed off. He's going to be fired up, ready to play. He's got lots to prove. He's still super young. If you told me, hey, I'm going from handing the ball off to Frank Gore to handing the ball off to Christian McCaffrey, I'm ecstatic.
Right.
I've got Robbie Anderson, a guy that I played with before, and we've done well together. I got DJ Moore, who is going into year 4, I think. And I feel like he's barely even scratched the surface as good as he could be, because there are some times when I see him, I'm like, this guy is insanely good
Yeah.
if he could get some consistent quarterback play. And then you're going to get – I know we're going to draft O-lineman. It's just an overall better spot. And I think it's going to have a very good year. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, and with that, he's got really good escapability in the pocket. He can maneuver through there and extend plays. And, I think it's one thing to be able to do that, but it's another thing to be able to do that when you have Christian McCaffrey to dump the ball off to.
Yeah.
And you have Robbie Anderson's speed to get behind the safeties. That can translate into some good offense right there.
It can, yeah.
One option, you're going to move the sticks, and the other option, you're going to score a touchdown. And then somewhere in between the two of them, you could probably find DJ Moore. So,
yeah,
it's exciting stuff. We'll see what happens. But, like we said, I wouldn't be surprised if quarterback gets picked at 8, depending on who's there. I'm starting to feel like there's not going to be any quarterbacks there, and I think they know that. I think that's a lot of what went into this.
I agree 100%. I think that obviously every time we watch the draft, we think we know what's going to happen. And then the second, third pick happens. You're like, oh, my God, why didn't I think of that? Something nuts happens. There's going to be a team all the way from in the back that's going to say, you know what, screw this. King's ransom. We're moving up to number 4 or 5 to draft Justin Fields, Trey Lance, whoever they want. So I think they did the right thing. I think they're going to stay at 8 unless they get a supreme offer to trade down. I'm down with that too. But stay at 8. You're getting a perennial left tackle, a perennial linebacker, an all-star tight end, or a damn good corner. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think trading down would be a great move, honestly, because we're trying to build up a lot of positions. But quite frankly, I'm not sure moving up is out of the equation either. Now, what if you trade Sam Darnold and the number 8 pick for the number 4 pick, for the number 5 pick? You know what I mean? I mean,
You could.
It's not off the table.
No, nothing is off.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just wrapping that up. Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of trading, what do you think is next for Teddy Bridgewater? What do you think some landing spots for him could be?
To me, I think an NFL team would be absolutely foolish to trade for him, because you're taking on a big contract for a guy who, I mean, you know what he is. I wouldn't pay that kind of money for a backup. Certainly not. And I don't think any teams that are in need of a quarterback would much rather give up the situation they're in now to get in that situation. So if I was a team, I wouldn't trade for him. I think they would be getting screwed out of the deal, personally. I mean, and that sucks to say because my team would be getting the raw end of the deal. But you reap what you sow. So I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think. Well, I don't think anyone will trade with him because we have no leverage now. We just traded for a quarterback. Everybody's known from the beginning we don't want him. Everybody's just kind of looking at us like, well, eventually you're going to let him go. You're not bringing him.
That's probably what's going to happen. That's what I think.
So the only thing I could think is Houston, if this Deshaun Watson thing doesn't work out in a positive way, which it's not exactly trending in that direction. Which is funny because, we all kind of made our predictions that Teddy Bridgewater would be Houston's quarterback next year, but it's not anything close to what we thought was going to happen to get him there. And then, maybe Denver, if they get desperate, depending on how this draft shakes out, I could see them as a team who could use that type of game manager quarterback.
I got one for you. And I don't know if this is going to happen because of their cap. What about the Saints taking him back?
I mean, I've heard that. Well, I haven't heard that, but I've seen a lot of Saints fans talking online about how they would love to have him back because they think he's this incredible quarterback because he led those 5 wins He led them to those 5 wins.
Yeah, if I was him, I wouldn't do it. But I mean, I'm not going to say no. That's just a potential spot because when he was there, he was playing well. Granted, the Saints were at the time, they probably still are a better team than us. And then you're also, but then you got the whole Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston thing. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible.
I don't think it'll happen either because of Jameis Winston. But at the time he was their starting quarterback, they were probably the most talented team in the league.
Yep.
And that's the difference between them that year. What was that? 2 years ago? God, was that only 2 years ago? That was the difference between them 2 years ago and us last year is they had a great defense and we had no defense.
Exactly.
That's the difference between 5 wins in 16 games and 5 wins in 5 games.
Exactly. So I'm just going to ask you real quick. So I think we're both kind of in the same spot on the trade. We've touched base on that. So let's say Carolina is at 8. There's no quarterbacks available. What is your dream scenario? What do you want to happen? You don't have to pick a specific player, but what route do you want to go if we're there at 8?
All right. So like I said, I know it's not, probably the most safe football analytical pick, but I would want Pitts.
Okay.
Or, or Fields, but oh wait, you said we're not talking quarterbacks, didn't you? All right. So I would say Fields.
Quarterback, it's gonna
It'll probably be Fields, Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater. And then after that, I mean, I don't really have a favorite as far as those corners go.
Yeah.
So, at that point, I'd probably just say trade back and then get whichever of those corners you can get because I think one of them will still be there if you trade down to, 12, 13, 14. I'm sure you could get one of those corners and then another player. Those are my top 3.
I am on boards with the Pitts deal. What is that my number one? No, my number one is left tackle because I think that's extremely important. We've been talking about this since the freaking Byron Bell days. It hasn't been fixed, all right? So we need to get that squared away.
What about Taylor Moton? You don't think Taylor Moton can play left tackle?
I do, but I think he's very good at right tackle, and I feel like
because I think even if they take a rookie, I think they're more likely to put the rookie at right tackle and put Moton at left tackle.
Well,
at least for this year.
If they pick Sewell, there's no way they're putting him at right tackle. I'm playing left tackle. So I don't know. I like Moton a lot. I'm glad they re-signed him. Thank goodness. Or tagged him. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, they tagged him.
Either way, I'm glad that they're still working on something. So I'm glad they did that. But yeah, I want to go left tackle. If that's not an option, and they're like, "Look, dude, we got Kyle Pitts. Let's take him." Boom, you just got your all-star tight end for the next 10 years. Let's take the next 2nd, 3rd, 4th round pick and let's grab some linemen. I think in the middle of our spot is where we could use some help. Center's okay. Our guards are okay. Obviously the right hand's taken care of, but get you a left tackle or another left guard or right guard to help fill that in. If they don't go that route, they go Kyle Pitts or like I said, trade back. That's another good one because you can never use too many good people to fill in this roster. So if they trade back a couple picks and pick up an extra 2nd or 3rd round pick, I'm totally fine with that as well.
I think the most likely scenario is where we draft Slater from Northwestern. That's our left tackle because I think Sewell's gone. I think Pitts is gone, and I think Rashawn Slater's probably going to be the pick. I
think what keeps tripping me up is that apparently Joe Burrow wants Jamar Chase really bad. Because obviously they play together.
Right.
And people are like, why wouldn't you just take the top left tackle? I mean, you already got taken out this season because you got hurt because of your line. Right. I don't think they're going to pick a receiver, but if they do, then if Sewell's there at number 8, that is an absolute steal for the Panthers, and it would be insane not to do that.
Oh yeah, it would be an absolute steal. And I can't see that many teams passing on Kyle Pitts either. So, but that's interesting that you said that. I haven't really heard that. I don't think, but it makes sense. I mean, being that they just let go of AJ Green. So
Yeah. So yeah, that's something that I've been hearing a little bit. But yeah, he's not there anymore. He's not going to have a receiver. So I don't know. We'll see. And then in the later rounds, I just want to fill in spots, man. Just more O line, some corners. Speaking of corner, let's talk about the AJ Boye signing.
okay.
What is your thoughts on that regarding them signing him?
Well, I like it. I mean, this is a guy who, a few years ago was regarded as one of the best corners in the league. So you like that. Obviously, he's kind of a shell of what he once was, but at the same time, our coaching staff has done a great job getting the best out of players. So,
Yep.
we'll see what they can do with them. I mean, it's exciting anytime you can add a veteran player. And I think corner is a good position to have veteran players, who
Yep.
know what's going on. And then you can trust them to not, do anything stupid and blow a coverage. So, overall, I like it. What do you think?
It's times like these that just makes me wonder why in the hell we re-signed Shaq Thompson instead of Bradbury.
Yeah.
Because if we would have had him and then added the addition of him along with Dante Jackson, I would feel pretty good about our corner spots right now. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. I like this signing a lot. It's always good to have a veteran in your corner. No pun intended. That's always a good thing to have. I think that, obviously, I think he's about 30 years old. I mean, he's not old, but he's not young. That's totally fine. We know what you're getting with Dante Jackson. It's either boom or bust. He's either going to bust a coverage, you could get beat, or he's going to make an insane play and say, wow, I wish you could do that every time. I would have no problem drafting another corner in this draft. I think it's deep in defensive backs. I would have no problem with that. But for the most part, I think it's a good signing. And the same thing, like a couple of years ago, whenever we signed Rashawn Breeland, and then he never ended up signing, and then he went to play for Kansas City. I mean, he's done pretty well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Sorry, I thought I was going to go somewhere with that, and I totally lost my train of thought.
Sorry. I like it. I mean, there's still some decent guys on the mark. Did Richard Sherman sign? He signed with the Vikings, right?
Did he? I haven't heard that. Because I was thinking that would be a good pickup, after the draft, depending on how things shake out.
I think he did. I'm not confirming that. I'd have to look it up.
Oh, no, he's still a free agent.
Yes? Okay. He
Yeah,
might
I
have
just checked Wikipedia, which you can always trust with the facts.
Always trust. Yes. So, yeah, I like the signing. I think it's a good move. You need some veterans in there. But I'm getting pumped for this draft, man. I mean, we're a couple weeks away.
Yeah, not far.
Not far at all. I think I'm digging a lot what we've done this all season. We keep getting, I mean, not like I really care, but we keep getting these poor draft reviews not draft, free agency reviews. The Panthers, they get a C or a C minus or a D. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. I mean, I thought they took care of what they needed to take care of. I mean, they re-signed the guys that they wanted. Yeah. They got Hassan Riddick. I think that's a pretty good move. They got a couple good guys on the line. I mean, they didn't have a ton of cap room to work with, but what they did, they made well out with what they had, and then they just signed a veteran corner. I mean, I'm not saying that's the greatest offseason ever. It could turn out to be terrible 2 years down the road, but I just don't see where the disconnect is with saying that we had a poor offseason.
Yeah, and I don't think they're done either. I mean, I think they kind of just want to see how the draft shakes out first. So, we'll see what happens there. But, I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, their roster had plenty of holes to fill in. So, they kind of just went out and did what they could. But, I mean, look at, what they lost on the defensive line. Like you said, they brought in Hassan Reddick and they lost F.A. Obata. I'll take that trade off all day. You know what I mean? Exactly. So it just depends on how you want to look at things. I mean, people probably look at it and say there's still holes there. Well, I'm sure they know there's still holes there.
Exactly. So, yeah, I agree 100%. I think they took care of what they needed to take care of. Here's a question for you. This isn't necessarily Panthers related, but it's been popping up a lot. I don't know if it ever got passed yet, but this new number change deal with
I'm glad you asked because I wanted to ask the same question.
Okay, well, I feel like you've got your answer ready to go, so I'm gonna let you go first. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, my answer's not super in depth, but I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know. I think I'm just getting old, and it's the same with the 17 game schedule. I'm not a fan of that either. I just feel like it's the way it is. Why do we need to change it? What do you think?
I there are a lot of times where people could come up. It's like, oh, you're just old, you're out of touch, da 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 da, whatever. You know what? I completely disagree with that. I think that why would they change the numbers? I don't understand. I get it. I mean, you could, and I guess let's say you do it this year, and then a couple years down the road, I'm used to it. I'm probably not even going to notice anymore. But
Right.
that's just something that has always been differentiated from
Mm-hmm.
college to the pros. That's just it's a small thing, but it's like, okay, this guy is at the collegiate level. Once he gets to the pro level, he will look like this as
Yeah.
opposed to look like that. It's not a big deal, but it kind of looks gimmicky in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I've always liked it's more uniform. It feels more professional when it's more uniform like that. No, I
Exactly.
agree with you.
You don't want to hand the ball to your number 2 running back. That I said this to one of my friends the other day. It's like, the preseason, it's game 3 or 4. You've got
Yeah.
7 running back in, and he's wearing number 6.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, and it's just this just feels out of place and weird. I don't like it.
Yeah. And they said one of the reasons they did it, a lot of people think it's just an aesthetic thing because, single numbers are sexier.
Yeah.
But they said, I think it was the Chiefs had problems last year trying to put numbers on their defensive backs or something because so many of their numbers were retired. I don't know, something like that. But, if that's the case, I I find that hard to believe that you couldn't find any number quit retiring numbers. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Retiring numbers is that's a tough one. That you can't do that a lot. You can only do it very seldomly.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you've got, that's 20 to 49 would be defensive backs. So, I mean, how many defensive backs are on your team? You've probably got at most 5 or 6 safeties and at most, 5 corners. So that's 11 numbers. That means you've retired 29 numbers?
if you can't put in a corner off a random deal and the number 49 off the street,
right. That's what I'm thinking. Just save 49 and 42 for random emergency numbers. Retire those for emergency numbers. How about that? You can unretire them whenever you need to use them.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm the same way, man. I don't want to do it. But then it just means if they do, I'm gonna have to buy another jersey.
It's gonna be weird. I hope they don't, but it sounds like they're going to. I'm not a fan of it.
See, and I thought I don't know if this is confirmed. Someone might have just modified it on Instagram, but Derrick Henry put out a tweet. He was like, "Yeah, this is cool with all the number changes, but how about we bring back throwback uniforms and stuff like that and helmets?" And I'm like, "Yes,
yeah,
let's do that."
dude, I cannot stand the helmet rule. It's so stupid.
I agree 100%. It makes absolutely no sense. No sense at all. None. And you're telling me right now if the Panthers had black helmets or blue helmets, you know how sick that would be?
Yeah.
We've been talking about it for the last 10 years.
I forgot the reason. The reason was they wanted the players to wear the same helmets because those are the ones they tested for concussions or something. It's dude, test more helmets. You're the NFL. How much money do you have? Do whatever you got to do.
Duplicate that helmet with a different color. I mean,
right.
I don't know. I mean, I guess they have the reasonings, but I think it's terrible.
Yeah, it's stupid.
And then, as far as the throwback jerseys, the NBA makes a killing off stuff like that. I think more people wear throwback NBA jerseys than modern jerseys. So could you imagine if the NFL did that? I mean, we don't really have anything that old, but there's a lot of cool old school NFL uniforms that I would love to see back on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. That would be awesome. I was watching, just in passing that I've been watching basketball this year and seeing the Miami Heat. I'm like, dude, I think they've worn every color except their team's jersey colors this year. Like, they've got so many alternate jerseys.
Yeah, I don't think they just worn like the normal like black Heat jerseys. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
got so
I don't think
many.
I think they've worn every color but their color. Like your
Yeah,
yellow helmet up there, like they were wearing that. Well, I guess technically that's one of their alternate colors, but it was like yellow and black.
yeah,
Like it looked like they were the Lakers or like the Pittsburgh Pirates ran out there playing the wrong sport.
yeah. And then you've got the Hornets. They're wearing like the mint colored
Yeah,
jerseys. Awesome, by the way. Um, I mean, they've really done it right with that stuff. And I know the NFL is not like that, but you know, don't be afraid to spice it up. Have a throwback week where everyone's wearing a throwback jersey. Like you know how many people would buy that? I'd buy it.
yeah, I'm a fan. I like it. I say let's do it. What about I know I touched on this for just a second. What do you think about the 17 game schedule?
I don't like it either. I mean, it's just like adding another playoff spot. It's like it kind of cheapens it a little bit. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm not against it, but I think I know the players hate it because they're already going to play another game and they're
Yeah,
already going to be exhausted at the end of the year. Here's another game.
right.
I mean, I think in a couple of years we'll probably forget about it and it'll just be the norm and no one will really care. But I'm not a fan of it because it just kind of cheapens things up. It's an extra game to try to get better. It's an extra game to make the playoffs for the extra playoff spot that we added you.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm not a fan of it, and you know, well, as a fan of a team, obviously I'm excited to have another chance to watch my team each year. That's cool. I can't wait to watch the Panthers beat up on the Texans when, Teddy Bridgewater's their quarterback. That's going to be awesome. I can't, I like having another chance to watch my team. That's cool. But like you said, it cheapens it. And what about all these records that are about to be broken that have, that have meant so much?
Exactly. Now now you have an extra game yeah, I agree.
Do
All the
anything.
records.
Throw for
Yeah,
4,000 yards. Throw for 3,000 yards.
yeah.
Someone's going to break Jameis Winston's interception record. That was sacred.
That was sacred. Now you get an extra game to do it. Someone might just go out and throw it to the opposing team on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly didn't think about that about the whole record thing, but that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, that's
It's
interesting.
it's like you're gonna have to put an asterisk by it and specify which time period this record is
Yeah.
broken or this
In
record
the
stood.
17 game season, he's the highest so and so. Like, I don't know. I agree 100%.
I mean, it's gonna be crazy. Like, like we're gonna be watching football with our grandkids, and they're gonna be like the most touchdowns since the league expanded to a 17 game schedule, and we're gonna be like, I remember when there was only 16 games, and they're like, you are old as dog poop, and you need to go bury yourself in the backyard.
I remember we did that. We talked about that on a podcast. I used to do it with this guy.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
It's
That's crazy.
I don't know. But we'll see how it goes, I guess. I mean, if the Panthers are good, cool. I get to see another game of them being good. If they suck, I probably will only watch the beginning and then go outside and do something else. So
yeah, I think it's just gonna move because week 16 is always like if your team's in it, obviously it's exciting. If your team's out of it, it's just like it's like another preseason game at the end of the year. And it's just I don't know if it'll create two of those or just move it back 1 week. Probably just move it back 1 week, but regardless.
But
We'll see.
yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But in regards to everything we talked about in finishing all that stuff up, I like the Darnold trade. I think he's going to be good. I can't wait. Now I'm excited for camp preseason. I want to see what he looks like. I want to see what everybody's saying, what they're thinking. I'm excited about where we're at in the draft. I think we're in a good spot. We're definitely going to get a top player at 3 or 4 positions. You can't mess that up. I like the Aboye signing. I mean, there's not a whole lot to complain about unless Sam Darnold turns into a complete dumpster fire, but I don't think he's going to be that bad. I think it's going to be a lot better than people are saying. So, in closing, I do like everything they've done, and I'm pumped for the draft. I'm ready to see what goes down.
Yeah, I'm at least ready to give the guy a chance. I'm not counting him out like a lot of people tend to do, but yeah, I'm excited, man. We'll see what happens, and at the end of the day, at least it's not Teddy Bridgewater, so we got that to hang our hats on.
Exactly. And I'm sure by the next episode, something crazy will happen that we'll have to talk about.
Yeah,
Because crazy stuff happens as soon as we stop doing this.
I
But
swear.
I mean, if they can unload Teddy, by all means, I'm in for it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you can take a 7th-round pick for him, that's what you do because it's your own fault. You can't trade him.
Yeah, why not? You already gave up a 6th-round pick for this year. Go get a 7. Trade you 2 7s for a 6. Boom, you're back in the game.
No doubt. Exactly.
But well, I'm gonna probably get out of here. My laptop is on.
All right. Well, I guess Tanner's laptop died, but that was a nice little discussion we had, and that was a great uh, third recording of the Primetime Carolina podcast. Y'all have a good one. Good night.